We're 12 days away from Election Day. Votes are already starting to come in for the midterms, and there are so many races across the country that will come down to the wire. For more on the major races we're watching, let's bring in CBS News political director Finn Gomez. So, Finn, in South Carolina, Governor Henry McMaster and former Congressman Joe Cunningham met last night for their first and only debate ahead of Election Day. Why is this gubernatorial debate so significant, and what are your key takeaways from last night's matchup?
Incumbent Republican Henry McMaster faced off against Democrat Joe Cunningham in Columbia, South Carolina. It's their first and only debate of this cycle. The Republican has consistently pulled ahead of his Democratic challenger. The latest polls show him up about 6 points in this traditionally red state. But one of the biggest moments of the debate was when McMaster said that he does not support same-sex marriage. The Republican governor was responding to a question on whether he'd support South Carolina legislation taking the existing 26-year-old ban out of state law if the Supreme Court ever returned the legality of gay marriage to the states, as it did with abortion, the abortion rights in its Dobbs ruling after the overturning Roe v. Wade. So, McMaster called himself old-fashioned, but said marriage should be between a man and a woman. Cunningham jumped on that, saying it's 2022 and Governor McMaster wants to ban same-sex marriage. So this embodies a concern that a lot of Democratic candidates have been expressing in some of these races because of the Dobbs ruling earlier in the summer that certain rights like this one, like same-sex marriage, is something that could also shift back under Republican governors, if you will, and so that was like the highlight of the night for this debate.
Finn, New Hampshire is gearing up for a slew of debates next week, starting with the governor's race and then the U.S. Senate and congressional district seats. Tell us what's at stake there.
Vlad, well, the big one is really between Senator Maggie Hassan and her Republican challenger, Don Bolduc. That's happening today. And it's really interesting because Hassan was considered one of the most vulnerable Democrats at the beginning of this cycle. However, in the majority of the polls up until recently, she was really ahead of Bolduc, who was a much more controversial Republican candidate during the primary. He's someone who called for the abolishing of the FBI after the Mar-a-Lago search by that federal authority. This is related to the Donald Trump investigation there. He's made a slew of other really controversial remarks. However, so for most of the cycle, Vlad, it was considered that she was essentially safe. It shifted back. But recently, there's been a new poll from Emerson Polling that shows a much closer race. And what that has effectively done is that you're seeing much more money pour in from the Republican Party and their allied PACs, like the Senate Leadership Fund, which is the Mitch McConnell-aligned PAC. Republicans that I've spoken to believe it is closer, and that Bolduc is within striking distance of the Democratic incumbent. We'll see. A lot of people had written it off, but as the trend seems like it's a better climate for Republicans with just 12 days until November 8th, it could help candidates like Bolduc. But again, there's a lot can happen. I know it's just 12 days, but it's that's almost a lifetime when it comes to politics.
So former President Trump announced that he's holding a rally with Senator Marco Rubio next week. However, Governor Ron DeSantis will not be attending. How are people interpreting this?
Anne-Marie, so this has been this is essentially about, even though he's there to campaign for 2022 and help Marco Rubio, people in Florida political experts and people in both camps have told me this is really about 2024. We can confirm that, from a source close to DeSantis, who say that this rally on the 6th of November is a flex versus DeSantis. And DeSantis is not happy about the rally because they were not told ahead of the rally. But again, this seems to be about 2024. I spoke to a top Florida GOP strategist just before the state who says that both sides are assuming that they're going to be running in 2024, and this is essentially right out of their pre-2024 playbooks. So it's already this positioning. Donald Trump still leads in the polling that we've seen of potential 2024 aspirants. DeSantis, though, is the only one that is getting double digits, and some recent polls show him beating Trump in Florida. So it's already happening. We're not even done with the midterms, but 2024 is here.
Wow. All right, Finn, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
We're not finished with 2022 yet either, it seems
right.
like.